Now let's evaluate this very interesting problem. What we have here is the square root of 1 minus the square root of negative 3 plus the square root of 1 plus the square root of negative 3. And you might be asking, can this be evaluated? Can this be simplified? Now there are two things you must take note of if you want to simplify this radical expression. Number one, you must know that when we have something like, let's say, the square root of 4, the square root of 4 is 2. Okay, don't worry, I'm going somewhere with this. The square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 9 is not negative 3. So when you have this radical like this, we only consider the principal square root. So what does this mean? It means that 4 here cannot be negative when you have square root or a radical symbol like this. 9 also cannot be what? Negative. And this also means that the square root of x will always produce something that is equal to 0 or greater than 0. So x, for this case here, will always be greater or equal to 0. That's one thing you must take note of. So what does this mean? It means that what you have in this radical, this big radical symbol, is going to be either positive. If it's not positive, it will be an imaginary number, but it cannot be a negative number because of what I just explained here. Okay, now what about this other one? Same thing too. What we have here, this expression cannot be negative. It will either be a positive number or an imaginary number. That's one condition. Another condition, number two, if you have p, you can express p as the square root of p squared. So when this square cancels the square root, you have backward p, provided that p is what? Positive. So if you have 5, for instance, this can be expressed as what? 5 squared all square root. Because when you cancel out again, you get what? 5. Remember, you cannot do this for a negative number. You can't do this like this for a negative number. Oh, minus 3 squared. No, this will give you an imaginary number. Okay? So with this in mind, we are going to go back to the question and apply these two conditions in evaluating a problem before us. Let's do that. So from what we just looked at from those two conditions, if I wrap this with a square, I can put a square root and I would not have altered anything. Remember, p is also what? P squared with the square root here. So this square that I just brought now will cancel the square root and you will get back the same problem we had initially. So it's okay to do it like that. Now let me just rewrite everything and write it like this. 1 minus the square root of negative 3 all square root plus what? 1 plus the square root of negative 3 all square root. Now watch this. I'm going to wrap everything with a square and then put a square root that will cancel the effect of the square. All right. Now, because we have this square here, it means we're going to multiply this expression by itself. Okay. Now we're going to use one of the algebraic identity. When you have a plus b all squared, this is equal to what? A squared plus 2ab plus b squared. This is what we're going to use to expand what we have in this big or outermost radical that we have. So let's do that. What is this a squared? It means that I will take this first expression and square it. Then take the second radical expression and square it. Then what do we have here? 2ab. Then use 2 to multiply the two radical expressions. Okay, let's do it now. So it's going to be what? 1 minus the square root of negative 3 all square root. Remember, all squared. Plus, what is this? 2ab. So 2 times the two radical expressions. 2 times the square root of what? 1 minus root 3. Then times what? 1 plus root 3. Okay. Then the last one, what is this? B squared. So you take the other one and then you square it, which is what? That's this one now. 1 plus root 3 or negative root 3 all squared. Now don't forget that there's a big or an overall radical symbol like this. Okay, now moving on. So like I told you before, this square will cancel the square root and you have what? 1 minus root what? Negative 3. Let's leave this one for now and let's come to this last one here. The same thing here. Square will cancel the square root. So you have, let me just write it together. 1 plus what? Root negative 3. Now let's write this other one here, which is what? 2 with the square root of 1 minus root 3, or negative root 3 times what? The square root of 1 plus the square root of what? Negative 3. Okay. Don't forget that there's a square root overall like this. So what do we have here? This is 1 plus 1, which is what? 2. And can you see that these two, they are inverse, plus minus the square root of negative root 3. So they will cancel out. And then I'm going to have what? So this cancels this. And I have 1 plus 1, which is what? 2. This has to be here. So this is equal to what? 2 plus, let's come to this now. Does this not look like difference of two squares? See, this is minus, this is plus. But before we even talk about difference of two squares, let us write this under one radical symbol. You know, if you have square root of a times square root of b, this can be rewritten as what? Square root of what? A times b. So I'm going to put this and put this under one big radical symbol from what I've just said about this. Okay? So I'm going to have 2 the square root of what? 1 minus the square root of negative 3, and then 1 plus the square root of what? Negative 3. All right. Don't forget there's a big square root on it like this. This is going to be what? 2 plus 2. See, this is from what? Difference of two squares. Like I said before. How do I know that? See, there's a minus here, there's a plus here. And this is 1, this is 1. Okay? And this and this are what? Identical. It's from this. If you have a squared minus b squared, this can be factorized to what? A plus b and what? A minus b. And that's exactly what we have here and then here. Okay? So I am going to write it in this form. I mean, this one here now. So let's do it here. It's going to be what? The square root of 1 squared, see, a squared, right? Then minus the square root of what? Negative 3 all squared. See that? Okay. So this will be equal to what? 2 plus 2, the square root of 1 squared is 1 minus. Let me show you something about this square root of negative 3. Square root of negative 3 is equal to, you know, we can rewrite this as what? Square root of what? Negative 1 times 3. We want to bring in the imaginary unit now because this will give us an imaginary number. So I is equal to the square root of negative 1. So if I rewrite this like this, square root of negative 1 times square root of what? 3. Since this is I, so I can rewrite this square root of negative 3 as what? Square root of negative 1 times square root of 3. And I already said that I, which is the imaginary unit, is equal to the square root of negative 1. So I'm going to replace this square root of negative 1 with what? I. We'll do that in the next line. Okay. So I'm going to have what? That this is equal to what? 2 plus 2. Oh, there's a big square root symbol. Let's not forget from here. I almost forgot that. It's also here. And then to be here as well. Okay. So what's this now? This will be what? 1 squared is already 1. That's why I kept 1 here. So the square root of 1 minus. This is I. So that's I root 3. And there's a square. Let's not forget. There's a square like this. All right. Okay. So the next line now, this is going to be what? The square root of 2 plus 2 root 1 minus. This square will be distributed to I and to what? Root 3. So I'm going to write it like this. I squared times root 3 all squared. All right. Now, again, this square will cancel the square root. And then you have that 2 plus 2 root what? 1 minus I squared times 3. Now, what is I squared? If I is equal to root negative 1, it means that I squared will be what? Negative 1. Because if you square this, you have to square this as well, and this square will cancel the square root. So I squared is equal to negative 1. What am I going to do? I'm going to replace I squared with negative 1. So I have this as equal to what? 2 plus 2. There's the square root here. Let me not forget that again. Then the square root of what? 1 minus I squared is what? Negative 1. So negative 1 times 3. All right? So next line, I have the square root of what? 2 plus 2. The square root of what? So this is what? 1. Negative 1 times 3 is what? Negative 3. And minus times minus is what? Is plus. So the next line is going to be what? The square root of what? 2 plus 2. 1 minus minus 3 is what? 1 plus 3, which is 4. So this will be equal to the square root of 2 plus 2 root 4. What is root 4? Isn't that 2? So next line I'm going to have this as equal to what? The square root of 2 plus 2. Root 4 is 2. And this is equal to square root of 2 plus, what's 2 times 2? That's 4. And what is 2 plus 4? That is 6. So this is the solution. This is almost unbelievable, owing to the complex radical expression we had earlier. If you enjoyed this video, kindly subscribe to this channel and do well to like and share this video with your friends and family. I'll see you in the next one.